Welcome all to the course of Data Communication Networking B7 semester Electronics and Communication Engineering. Today we start a new unit called as an application layer. So before discussing, let's discuss about why we study about the application layer. The application layer enables the user, whether human or software, to access the network. It provides user interface and support for a service such as electronic mail, file access and transfer, access to the system resources, surfing the World Wide Web, and network management. So, the application layer is responsible for providing a service to the user. Over here, we briefly discuss some applications that are designed as a client-server pair in the internet. The client sends a request for a service to the server and the server responds to the client. Fine. So it is a main objective of our application layer. So let's start our unit with a topic number 1 called as an DNS. Domain Name System. There are several applications in the application layer of an internet model that follow the client-server paradigm. The client-server programs can be divided into the two categories. First, those that can be directly used by the user, such as email, and second, those that support other application programs. The domain name system, called as an DNS, is supporting the program that is used by the other programs such as email. A following figure shows an example of how our DNS client-server program can support an email program to find the IP address of an email recipient. A user of an email program may know the email address of a recipient. However, the IP protocol needs the IP address. The DNS client program sends a request to the DNS server. Fine. DNS server to map the email address to the corresponding IP address. To identify an entity, TCP/IP protocol uses the IP address, which uniquely identifies the connection of a host to the internet. However, people prefer to use names instead of numerical addresses. Therefore, we need a system that can map a name to an address or an address to a name. When the internet was small, mapping was done by using a host file. The host file had only two columns, name and address. Every host could store the host file on its disk and update it periodically from a master host file. When a program or a user wanted to map a name to the address, the host consulted the host file and found the mapping. Today, however, it is impossible to have one single host file to relate every address with the name and vice versa. The host file would be too large to store in every host. In addition, it would be impossible to update all the host file every time and there was a change. One solution would be store the entire host file in a single computer and allow access to this centralized information to every computer that needs a mapping. But we know that this would create a huge amount of a traffic on the internet. Another solution, one used today, which is to divide this huge amount of information into the smaller parts and store each part on a different computer. This method, the host that needs a mapping can contact the closest computer holding the needed information. This method is used by the DNS. So, in this unit or in this point, we first discuss the concept and ideas behind the DNS. Then, we describe a DNS protocol itself. So, first point is a namespace. To be unambiguous, the names assigned to the machine must be carefully selected from a namespace with a complete control over the binding between the names and IP address. In other words, the names must be unique because the address are unique. A namespace that map each address to a unique name can be organized in two ways: flat or hierarchical. So these two points to be discussed in this section: flat namespace and hierarchical namespace. So first is flat namespace. In the flat namespace, a name is assigned to the address. A name in this space is a sequence of character without structure. The names may or may not have a common section. If they do, it has no meaning. The main disadvantage of the flat name is that cannot be used in a large system such as internet because it must be centrally controlled to avoid ambiguity and duplicity. Second is a hierarchical namespace. In the hierarchical namespace, each name is made of several parts. The first part can define the nature of the organization. The second part can define the name of the organization, and the third part can define the department in the organization, and so on. In this case, the authority to assign and control the namespace can be decentralized. A central authority can assign a part of the name that defines the nature of the organization and the name of the organization. The responsibility of the rest of the name can be given to the organization itself. The organization can add suffix or prefix to the name to define its host or resources. The management of the organization need not worry that the prefix chosen for a host is taken by another organization because even if the address is the same, the whole address is different. For example, assume that the two colleges and the company call one of their computers Challenger. The first college is given a name by the central authority such as fhda.edu. The second college is given the name as berkeley.edu. The company is given the name smart.com. When this organization add the name Challenger to the name that have already been given, the end result is a three distinguishable names just like challenger.fhda.edu, challenger.berkeley.edu and challenger.smart.com. The names are unique without the need for the assignment by the central authority. The central authority controls only the part of the name, not the whole. Fine. So it is a namespace. Second point is a domain namespace. To have an hierarchical namespace, a domain namespace was designed. In this design, the names are defined in the inverted tree structure with the root at the top, and the tree can have only 128 levels, where level 0 is a root to the level 1 to 7. For this you consider this figure. Fine. So it is a domain namespace. It is a root, it is a branches, and it is sub branches. So following points to be discussed in this section is label, domain name, and domain. So label. Each node in the tree has a label. So each have a label, and which is a string with a maximum 63 characters. The root label is a null string or empty string. Over here there is a no string. The DNS requires the children of the nodes that branch from the same node have a different labels. Fine. So they have a different labels, which guarantees that a uniqueness of a domain names. So it is a labels. Next is a domain name. Each node in the tree has a domain name. A full domain name is a sequence of labels separated by the dots. The domain names are always read from the node up to the root. Node up to the root means starting from this direction to the root. The last label is the label of the root, just like a null. This means that a full domain name always ends in a full label, which means the last character is a dot because the null string is nothing. Our figure shows the some domain names, just like this. A challenger each have a different labels. The challenger, ATC, FHDA, EDU, and root. So the name will be challenger.atc.fda fhda.edu dot. Fine. So it is a domain name. Next is a fully qualified domain name. If a label is terminated by the null string, it is called as a fully qualified domain name. So you can observe this, that there is a dot at the each end of the domain name. An FQDN is a domain name that contains the full name of a host. It contains all labels from the most specific to the most general that uniquely define the name of the host. For example, the challenger.atc.fhda.edu dot is the FQDN of the computer name Challenger installed at the Advanced Technology Center. A DNS server can only match the FQDN to an address. Note that the name must end with a null label, but because the null means nothing, the label ends with dot. Next is a PQDN, means partially qualified domain name. If a label is not terminated by the null string, it is called as an partial qualified domain name. So you just observe that and each domain name does not have a dot at the end of its name or domain name. So generally it is most familiar as you are seeing in our recent times. Our PQDN starts from a node, but it does not reach to the root. It is used when a name to be resolved belong to same site as the client. Here the resolver can apply the missing part called as an suffix to create our FQDN. For example, if the user of an fhda.edu site wants to generate or get IP address to the challenger computer, he or she can define the partial name just like our challenger, only just challenger. The DNS client adds the suffix atc.fdha.edu before the passing to the address of a DNS server. So it just adds its before. Fine. The DNS client normally holds its list of a suffix. The following can be list of the suffix. The null suffix defines nothing. The suffix is added when a user defines fqdn. Fine. Next is the domains. A domain is a subtree of a domain namespace. The name of the domain is the domain name of the node at the top of the subtree. This figure shows the some domains. Note that the domain may itself be divided into the domains or subdomains. Fine. So it is a edu, it is a domain, it is a one another domain, it is a one another domain. Fine. So it is a subdomain. Next is a distribution of a namespace. The information contained in the domain namespace must be stored. However, it is very insufficient or inefficient that and also unreliable to have just one computer store such a huge amount of information. It is insufficient because responding to the request from all over the world places a heavy load on the system. It is not unreliable because any failure makes data inaccessible. So following point to be discussed in this section is hierarchy of the namespace, zone, root server and primary and secondary servers. First is a hierarchy of the name servers. The solution of this problem is to distribute the information among the many computers called as a DNS servers. One way to do this to divide the whole space in the many domains based on the first level. So it is a first level. In other words, we let the root stand alone and create a many domains subtree as the first level nodes. Because a domain created in this way could be very large, DNS allows the domains to be divided further into the smaller domains just like our subdomains. Each server can be responsible for either a large or a small domain. In other words, we have a hierarchy of the server in the same way as we have hierarchy in the names. Fine. So a figure clearly explain you it is a first level, it is a subdomain or subtrees. Next is a zone. Since the complete domain space hierarchy cannot be stored on a single server, it is divided among the many servers. What a server is responsible for or has authority over his call has a zone. A particular area shown in this oval is called as a zone. We can define a zone as a contiguous part of the entire tree. If a server accepts the responsibility for a domain and does not divide the domain into the smaller domains, the domain and the zone refer to the same thing. The server makes a database called as a zone file and keeps all the information for every node under the domain. However, if a server divides its domain into the subdomains, the delegates part of the authority to other servers. Domain and zones refer to the different thing. The information about the nodes in the subdomains is stored in the servers at a lower levels, with the original server keeping some sort of reference of these lower level servers. Of course, the original server does not free itself from responsibility totally. It still has a zone, but the detailed information is kept by the lower level servers. A server can also divide part of the domain and delegate responsibility, but still keep the part of the domain for itself. In this case, its zone is made of a detailed information for the part of the domain that is not delegated and reference to those parts of the that are delegated. Fine. A root server. A root server is a server whose zone consists of the whole tree. A root server usually does not store any information about the domains but delegates its authority to other servers, keeping a reference to those servers. There are several root servers, each covering the whole domain name space. The servers are distributed all around the world. Primary and secondary servers. A DNS servers defines two types of servers, primary and secondary. A primary server is a server that stores a file about the zone for which it is an authority. It is responsible for creating, maintaining, and updating the zone file. It stores the zone file on the local disk. Secondary server is the server that transfer the complete information about a zone from another server, just like primary or secondary, and stores the file on the local disk. The secondary server neither creates nor updates the zone files. If updating is required, it must be done by the primary server, which sends the updated version to the secondary. The primary and secondary servers are both authoritative for the zones they serve. The idea is not to put the secondary servers at the lower level of an authority, but to create a redundancy for the data so that if one server fails, the other can continue the serving clients. Note also that a server can be primarily server for a specific zone and a secondary server for the another zone. Therefore, when we refer to the server as a primary or a secondary server, we should be careful to which zone we refer. So, our primary servers loads all the information from the disk file, and the secondary server loads all information from the primary servers. When the secondary downloads the information from the primary, it calls a zone transfer. Next is DNS in the internet. A DNS is a protocol that can be used in a different platforms. In the internet, the domain namespace, just like a tree, is divided into the three sections: generic domains, country domains, and inverse domain. You can see in this figure. First is our generic domains. In the generic domains, defines a registered host according to their generic behavior. Each node in the tree defines a domain, which is the index of a domain namespace database, just like our given chal atc fsda.edu. So you can see that in this direction. Fine. So it is a generic domain. Looking at the tree, we see that the first level is a generic domain section allows 14 possible labels. This label describes the organization types as listed in our table. So AERO for an airline and aerospace company, BIZ is a business and firms, COM generally used a commercialized organization, COOP a cooperative business organization, edu, just like our educational institutions. Government have a gov info is an information service provider. INT, international organizations. MIL for a military groups. Museum for a museum and other non-profit organization. Name, just like a personal names. .net, just like network support centers. .org, a non-profit organization. And PRO for a professional individual organization. So what are the country domains? The country domain section uses the 2-character country abbreviations. US for a United States, IN.our India. A second label can be organizational, or they can be more specific national organizations or national designation. A United States, for example, uses a state abbreviation as a subdivision of a US, just like CA.US. So it is a CA.US for a US. This figure shows the country domain section. The address anza.cup.ca.us can be translated to the De Anza College in Cupertino, California in US. Last is a inverse domain. The inverse domain is used to map the address to the name. This may happen, for example, when a server has received a request from a client to do a task. Although the server has file that contains a list of authorized clients, only the IP address of the client is listed. The server asks its reserver to send a query to the DNS server to map an address to the name to the determine if the client is not the authorized list. This type of the query is called a inverse pointer or a PTR query. To handle a pointer query, an inverse domain is added to the domain name space with the first level node called ARPA. The second level is also one single node name in ADDR. The rest of the domain IP addresses. Fine. So the server that handles the inverse domain are also hierarchical. This means the net ID part of the address should be at a higher level than a subnet ID part. The subnet ID part higher than the host ID part. In this way, a server serving a whole site is at a higher level than the server serving at each subnet. This configuration makes the domain look inverted when compared to the generic or country domain. To follow the convention or reading the domain's labels from the bottom to the top, an IP address such as 132.34.45.21 is a class B address with a net ID of 132.34. Read as a 121.45.34.132 in ADDRPA. So this figure illustrates the inverse domain configuration. So it is the end of our discussion. So let's revise our discussion. We started our discussion with a objective of application layer. After that, we define a domain name system. A particular figure explains what the function of DNS and service of the DNS. After that, a namespace. In this, flat namespace and hierarchical namespace we have defined. After that, a domain namespace, we have discussed a label, domain name and domain, so each with a specific figures. It is a domain names and labels. FQDN and PQDN we have discussed. After that, a specific domain and the distribution of namespace, in which a hierarchy of the name servers, zone, root server and primary and secondary servers we have discussed. So it is a hierarchy of a name servers, then zones and domains, primary and secondary servers, At last, the DNS in the internet we have discussed, in which three sub part of the DNS we have discussed: generic domains, country domains, and inverse domain. In the generic domains, we have listed out some labels and some well-known labels. It is a country domain, just like our country and state. At last, a inverse domain. So it is a question for you. Write down in your notebook and send back it to me as per the given direction. Okay students, see you in the next session. Thank you.